So topic number 3 today, Shaun, and this is going to be a little bit shorter, but this is a fun topic. There's a report today, Greg McElroy was talking about this, that he said he spoke with someone in the know. And what he said is that person in the know stated that he believes that Nick Saban is contemplating a return to coaching. And it was apparently a discussion between him and Paul Feinbaum that Nick Saban is considering a return to coaching. So we're going to address that today. And we're going to begin by, number one, discussing it. How much truth do we think there is to this? And what are the odds that this actually happens? And then if it does, we'll hypothetically, how do we think Nick Saban to do in this era? And what are some potential landing spots for him? Number one, Shaun, I think there's obviously a nugget of truth to this, and I think it's going to be true for the next 2 to 3 years. I think for the next 2 to 3 years, Nick Saban's going to say to someone in passing or in golfing, like, I wonder, there's something to make them think, I wonder if he still got that bug in him. But if he doesn't get a job this year or next year, he's going to be done. And the reason I say that is it's like one of the most obvious things I've ever said in this show, Shaun. The guy's 73 years old. I mean, if he doesn't get back into it like now, it's just he's not going to get back into coaching. And the longer you stay away, the harder it is to stay on top of all the trends and different things that are happening. So I think there's some truth to it in that it's being discussed. My question for you is, do you think there's truth to it in that it's a real question, like a real option for him, or more of just something like he said while playing, the back nine somewhere, like, I bet you I could do something in this thing, like something like that. What are your thoughts on that, Shaun?
Well, I think it's an option for him because he's always going to be a viable option. I think the respect, the resume he's built up, the ability to come in and transform a program makes him a viable option. Now, I'm very interested in where he would want to go, not geographically, but does he want to go to a program where he is stepping in to elevate the program, or does he want to go and kind of transform a program once again at this point? But I do believe it's a viable option, and there's a truth nugget to it, because I do believe that coach is one of those coaches, man. He just loves to coach, man. He just loves to coach. And when you like that and you like the interaction with those players on a daily basis, like, you miss it. Right? You talk to football players, they tell you, what's the one thing you miss? I just miss being in the locker room with guys. I just miss being around the guys, having interaction.
And competing,
all of that. And so I think he misses the competitor he is. I think he misses competing, right? And as much as you want to say it, like sitting up there talking about the game, he's connected to the game, but it doesn't feel that void. It's not the same. And so I think we'll get into the breakdown of it, because I think long term where he could go, and we'll talk about, those things. But I just answering the question, yes, I think there's a truth nugget to it. I do feel like he has that urge that TV and media he despised the media. You know what I'm saying? I still think, even though he works in the media, I think he still despises certain parts of the media, and he probably is going to despise it even more if he decides to go back to coaching, because now he's been part of it and he sees the inner workings and he understands it, and he might have a better way of dealing with it now that he's been able to experience it. But I definitely think it's truth nugget to it. He's just one of those coaches, man. Like, he's not one of these guys that sat back. And I'm very interested. You've been to come in and be a guy that loves to coach, right? And it's probably very easy when you're trying to transform a program, because you have to have your hands on everything, right? But then as the program gets to the pinnacle and becomes this big entity at a school that has a great history like in Alabama, now the job becomes bigger than you just want to coach. He just strikes me as a guy that just wants to coach. But all of the other things that comes with being the head football coach at Alabama, and everything pulling on you, from the fans to the boosters to media, and all of these commitments and all of these commercials and the brand, I think he just wants to get back to coaching, which is why, we'll talk about it. I have a couple of ideas of where I think he's going to go. I think he wants to go to a situation where he can just get back to the grassroots of just coaching, and I think he misses that.
I think there's a couple reasons why I do think he at least thinks about it. Like, ultimately, Shaun, I don't think he's going to get back into coaching, ultimately. Because I think it's kind of like the couple times I've thought about getting back into coaching. Because, like you said, I miss the players. I miss having all the receivers over my house and Angela making them dinner and stuff like that, and just developing young men, and then just the relationships. And I miss the competition, recruiting against another school. I miss game day competition, that mental chess match against the opposing coaching staff. You miss that part of it. But then you start thinking about, okay, but this also means dealing with this and dealing with that, dealing with this, dealing with that. And it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, no, I'm over it, and I think that's part of it. I don't think that he needs the money. So I don't think there's like a draw. Hey, coach, will pay $15 million. Like, okay, I'm 73 years old. What am I going to do with that? I've done pretty good with my money. I've made a lot of money at Alabama. I'm making 7 figures now at ESPN. Like, I'm good. My family's good. I just think when you're the ultimate competitor that he is, and he was one of the ultimate competitors as a coach, and that was true before he won 7 titles. I mean, he was that way as a D coordinator for the Browns. He was that way at Michigan State. He was that way at Toledo. He's always been that way. And it's like Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz didn't become an ultimate competitor once he got to Notre Dame. He was that way at William and Mary. He was that way at NC State. He was that way at Arkansas, the Jets, Minnesota. So I think that drive doesn't just go away in a year and a half to 2 years. It just doesn't. So I think there's always that, and that's going to get mentioned to some people. And, everybody likes to talk now and share, I talked to Saban and he said this. But ultimately, I don't think it's something that the other things are going to, the grind, I think part of the reason he stepped away is the things that I believe are the most important things in coaching are not important anymore. Not at Alabama. And so I just don't know that part he wants to get in with. I don't think that he wants to get back into the grind of recruiting that you have to do to some degree. And unlike another coach in that conference who cares more about his golf game than he does about the grind of being a great coach, I don't think Nick Saban would want to coach without doing that, without putting in that effort. And so I think that is ultimately why I don't think he's going to get back into coaching. Having said that, Shaun, I do have a couple thoughts on what could make him want to get back into coaching, ultimately make the decision to do it. I think, to your point, the competitiveness aspect, but I think he's also, let's be honest, Nick Saban's a pretty arrogant guy, as are most coaches, as am I. It's kind of, if you're not, is that a profession that's going to attract you to that profession at that level? And I think Nick Saban's heard he couldn't win in this era. He couldn't win doing it this way. He couldn't win stacking teams. He couldn't do this. He couldn't do that. I think he hears that and he's like, oh, yeah? What if I jump back in and show you? I think that's part of it. I think it's the ego of people saying things like he can and can't do this. It would not shock me if he's still a little pissed off about what Shane Gillis said to him at Notre Dame last year, about him basically buying players and Bama Jones and all that, like Alabama Jones or whatever he called him, Bama Jones. Like, I think there's that too. Like, oh, you don't think I could win in this era? Y'all think I left because I was afraid of this, of whatever? Okay, I'll show you. I think that's part of it. I do. And I think that's normal. That's part of what made him a great coach. It's like, okay, you don't think I can win another title? Okay, we'll go show you. So I think that's part of it. I do. I think if he ever got back in, I think that'd be the final straw. Oh, you don't think I can win in this era? All right, I'm going to show you that I can win in this era. But ultimately, I think his age and just where he's at in life, and then with his wife, and he's got kids and grandkids and all that, I think I can keep him doing it. But I think those are the things that make it a draw for him. But I don't think it's a given that he won't. I think if I had to bet right now, I don't think he's going to do it again. But there's 2 things that Nick Saban could do. One is, all right, I'm going to take over a team that can win, and I'm going to show you. And we'll talk about those teams here in a minute. The other one I could do is I could see him taking over some program that's like not a typical winning program because he just wants to coach. You know what? Here, I can still be that way. At Louisiana Tech, they don't care about me competing. They still care about winning, but they still care about what kind of young men are you producing and And I have a lot of issues with things that Nick Saban did, but I do think Nick Saban, in his way, cared about developing young people. I do. I don't know that I always agree with everything he did to go about it. And there's a lot of things I very much disagree with, but in his head, he viewed he was developing young people. I don't think Kirby Smart cares. I generally don't think Kirby Smart gives one rip about developing young people. I don't. I base that off of his actions and the fact that his team has a less than 50% graduation rate. And what is it? They've had more arrests than wins the last 2 years. Like, that didn't happen at Bama to that degree. They were always like 70, 80% graduation rate at Alabama. So I just think it's a different mindset with him. So I could see him also going to that type of program where he's like, you know what, I'm going to go to a Troy or wherever he's living, and say, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to win, and we'll raise money and I'll get kids. I just want to coach football. Like, I'm going to coach till I die. Basically, I'm going to coach till I can't do it anymore. And I think for someone who was as good as he was, knowing you can still do it can be a hard thing to leave on the table. And I think that's part of that draw.
Yeah, I agree with you with the parameters you laid out. And I think I'll add, it has to be somewhere warm. I just don't see it has to be.
He ain't going back to Michigan State.
No.
He ain't coming to Notre Dame if Marcus Freeman leaves the Bears. I don't hear any Nick Saban might come back talk. Okay.
No.
Miss Terry ain't having that, Shaun.
No. Somewhere in the South or up there in the West, a school that you're talking about, because you gave great examples, but I think a school like Arizona, which is really, I think a school that is down.
Older people go to retire.
Not a lot of expectations, but yet still enough of the spotlight to whereas, he can elevate that program and be very comfortable. Is there a place on the West Coast?
But see, like that, I don't think so, because I don't think Nick Saban and Miss Terry would have any interest of, like, a buddy of mine brought up, I hope he doesn't go to USC.
Oh, no.
There's no way he's going to go live in Los Angeles.
I don't see it.
No way.
I don't see it.
Like somebody in the chat, I don't know who it was, brought up like Texas Tech. Okay, again, I don't know that like Lubbock, Texas is a place where him and his wife are going to go to.
No.
Yeah, I think it'd be like a TCU.
Yeah.
A Baylor.
Yeah.
A Texas. I mean, if for some reason that, was an option, somebody brought up LSU. I could see that, like if I could see that. If like Nick Saban, if Brian Kelly goes 9-4 this year, or 10-3, and they lose games at the big good teams, and Nick Saban wanted to get back into coaching, like, you don't think Nick Saban could float some things to people and LSU boosters wouldn't raise the money to buy out in 5 minutes? I could see that.
Do you think he would be petty? Now, this is just me being, this is really made for TV. The reality side of this is very low. But just to be petty, just for TV purposes, and to go to Georgia Tech and be in the same state as Kirby. And they meet every year at the end of the year.
Yeah, you can't duck them.
Oh man,
I've always felt that him and Kirby got along real well.
Yeah, and
I don't know that he would want to do that.
Okay.
To Kirby, but I think it'd be a very interesting situation. I think it'd be more so like I don't know that the SEC would be where he'd want to go.
No,
like I don't know that would, like I could see him going to like a more academic oriented school, like a Duke, a North Carolina. If he was going to South, I mean maybe like a South Carolina, a school that doesn't have a history of winning, because I think doing it there would be a little bit different. Couple schools that I think have coaches on the hot seat. If Florida doesn't live up to expectations, I think Nick Saban could look at that roster and be like, I can go win there. Yeah. I could win. Florida State is another interesting one, where if Mike Norvell doesn't win this year, I mean, Nick Saban could be like, dude, I could win at Florida State. You know what I mean? Like I could see that.
The connection to him and Dion and restoring Florida State, and he definitely would have the support of Deion Sanders. Yeah.
LSU obviously is one I could see. Like I don't see him moving to Ole Miss, Oxford, or actually, you know what? If he was going to be petty, I could see him if Lane moved on, replacing Lane and saying, "I'll show you how to win here." Because I don't know that their relationship, like, there's a respect, but also a bit of a, I respect you, but you were a pain in my butt when we work. Like, you can tell there's a genuine, like, as human beings and your knowledge, I think there's a respect there between Lane and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
But I also think there was definitely a lot of personality clashes where Lane kind of pissed Nick Saban off a lot.
Yeah.
And Lane probably got pissed off by Nick Saban a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could see that. Yeah. That'd be an interesting one. Be a very interesting one. Because, like, I think their relationship is better now than it was when they coached together. I think both of them have developed a greater respect for each other when they are apart. And that happens.
Yeah.
So I could see that. But I think it'd be more so like an ACC school where, like you said, where there's not the same level of expectation or pressure. You can just go coach football and develop young men and still win. I mean, he's going to want to win. But the Florida job, the Florida State job are two that intrigue me very much, especially the Florida job, because I don't know, like Tallahassee, there's places that are really nice in Tallahassee if you've got money, but there's definitely a lot more near Gainesville. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, you could get a place an hour away too. And just
to be honest, right now, it's like, to be honest, opportunity is like the Autobahn in the state of Florida, because no one really is at the wheel.
No.
Mario Cristobal tried to act like he was at the wheel
and
at the beginning of last year.
Probably got the best team right now, which says a lot about how there for the taking that Florida is.
At the end of the year, I actually think at the end of the year, Florida probably might have been the best team.
By the end of the year, possibly. I'll say this, Shaun. I don't know that Nick and Urban Meyer have necessarily the greatest relationship. It just kind of always struck me that way.
Yeah,
I could see him saying, "Hey, what you did didn't mean anything. I won here too." You know what I mean? Like, and I wasn't 2 years removed from Steve Spurrier when I stepped in and won.
Yeah, Yeah.
So I could see that too.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But yeah, the Florida State ones are very interesting. Very interesting. So those are two that I'd keep my eye on if those teams struggle this year, because I think I don't know that he wants to get back into coaching, but if that right job comes along.
Right job, right.
And we've seen that before where coaches are like I don't think Mac Brown wanted to get back into coaching. I think Mac Brown wanted to go back to Carolina and get them back to where they were. I think that was his, and that's ultimately why I think he failed.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he had that burning desire to coach again. I think he was trying to do something for a program that had done a lot for him. And I think that's ultimately why Coach Brown failed.
I think Nick Saban is also, which bears watching, he's very interested in the business landscape and the legislation that's going to be forthcoming concerning college football, because he was called to testify in front of Congress about it, and he has political connections.
Where can he make a bigger impact? Out of coaching or in coaching?
In coaching, definitely in coaching.
That's another part of it too. Somebody brought up Auburn. I don't think there's any chance in heck that he goes.
No, I don't think he's that petty.
No, and I just think he knows that would destroy his legacy.
Legacy at Alabama,
100%.
Yeah. Going from LSU to Alabama wasn't, they're rivals.
There was the Dolphins in between.
Yeah.
And he wasn't at LSU that long. He won one title at LSU. And before that title year, they were complaining about him and bitching about him and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's any way he does that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way he does that. So
ultimately,
I don't think he gets back into coaching, but I do think if the right job comes open this offseason, I think he would strongly consider it. And I could see him doing it for the right opportunity.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I do think at least one of those two Florida jobs is going to open up this offseason.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Miami, if let's say Cristobal left for the NFL, I don't think Nick Saban is a Miami guy. Miami's a whole different kind of Florida. Like,
you never lied about that.
There's Florida, right, which is to me sort of like an hour north of Miami up to Jacksonville. And then there's Alabama, Florida, which is like Tallahassee, which is more like Alabama than it is Florida. And then there's Miami. So like Florida has like 3 distinctly different parts of it.
Tallahassee is more in line with the South,
right?
Country vibes.
Bingo. Yes.
Miami is like a definitely a metropolis, fast life.
Yeah.
You know that. Nah.
And you could even say northern Florida. Like when I lived in Jacksonville, that has a lot more in common with Georgia than it does like Central Florida.
Oh yeah. The closer you get up to Jacksonville,
all big states are like that. Yeah, like San Diego's really different from LA, which is very different from San Francisco, which are all different from the eastern part of California, which is like farmland and more conservative. And it's like big states are going to be like that. I mean, you look at New York. There's like, where do all these Republican senators or representatives from New York come from? It's the rural areas. It's not the cities. It's not Rochester. It's not New York. It's like a lot of times it's more of the rural areas and things like that. Yeah. All those big cities have their very different parts of it. But Florida is especially like schizophrenic when you look at the different parts. Like they should belong to different states.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought the most prophetic thing or the most logical thing that Howard Schnellenberger said was the state of Miami. Like that was when you read like this is ours, the state of Miami. It's like, you know what, that's actually kind of a point. They should kind of be their own state. You take that, that he talked about, that's a whole different type of state than what the northern part and the western part is. So yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I could see Florida State being 2 jobs that if they came open, he'd have to at least think twice about it.
Yeah.
If something happens with Sark at Texas this year, there's some things I'm hearing about Sark's offseason that make me wonder what's going on with him.
Something else that's interesting? I think if we really dig into it, remember we were talking about the SEC, the power play, what they felt like they were going to be able to do because of success in the initial 12-team playoff that kind of backfired because the leverage swung the way of the Big Ten. And now they have the Big Ten as no longer as an ally in a sense in this hostile takeover, but now as a main competitor at the top of this thing that is the expansion of the playoff. And Nick Saban was like seeing this coming on the horizon. And just kind of stepped away because he knew I'm not in a good place, meaning Alabama. You would talk about Alabama's history, football, all of that. But you could tell he was frustrated by some financial constraints and constantly having to be before the alumni asking for money. And you say to yourself, with all this success, where's the money? Like, where's the revenue that has been generated by this dynastic football program for a decade? Like, why is Nick Saban having to ask and beg for money? And so it begs the question whether or not Alabama was a viable option for him to be able to be successful in the evolution of college football in the business side and how it was going to be impacting recruiting. A lot of people would say, well, if he didn't have the upper hand, who doesn't want to have the upper hand in recruiting? What are we talking about? He worked to get that upper hand because he didn't have it initially. He worked and put in the work to put Alabama at a place where they had the upper hand in recruiting. And so at that age, to have to kind of like start from scratch, per se, from a recruiting standpoint and get Alabama back to the top of that, I don't know if that's something he wanted to be able to do. And I think he took the opportunity to take a step back. I think he was honest about stepping away because he was frustrated with where the game was going. And like he said, having guys that haven't played a snap for me come into my office and say, man, what's my NIL deal looking like? Like, wait, hold on. What are you talking about?
Right. Or like, if you don't pay me, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, no, this is not the football that I want to be a part of. So if things get cleaned up, look a little different, and he can find a place that he feels like is going to be supportive within the confines of what college football is now, which is maybe he didn't see that, because he spoke about it openly, being frustrated, with having to ask for money at Alabama, which is, it's a head scratcher. We talked about that. Like, why are these SEC schools complaining and crying poor when you've been beating your chest about winning for the last decade? Where's the money going? What are you doing with it? Because I know you're generating revenue, right? That makes Texas that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because Texas would be one of those schools where I don't think he would have to worry about, having financial backing when it comes to being the head coach and recruiting and all of that. That's an interesting, because I think Elko is going to be at Texas A&M for a while. Lubbock, like you said, I don't think is a place that he and Miss Terry would particularly like to live. Florida State, I think, fits, as someone said in the chat. That area is very much an extension of.
He lives in Florida now, doesn't he?
That I'm not sure. More than likely he does. More than likely he probably does. But yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. I'm actually very curious where he does live. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, he bought a $17.5 million Florida mansion. So it looks like it says it's in where's
Affleck checks must be nice, boy.
I know, right? Yeah. Let's see. Jupiter Island. Where's Jupiter Island, Florida?
I don't know. It sounds like it's around a lot of golf courses, though.
It's
near Tiger Woods.
Yeah, somewhere very Jupiter Island in Florida. Obviously, it's on one of the coasts. I'm very curious where that is on the coast. But let me do this. Let's go Jupiter Island, Florida, to Gainesville, Florida. Distance looks like it's about a 4-hour drive. It's down south near Miami.
Okay.
So it's in it. So he wouldn't. I mean, you could buy a house in the off season and still keep that one. Anyway, ultimately, I don't think he does it unless the right job comes open, and I still don't think he does it. But it's at least nice to consider, and I guarantee he's thinking about it. But I can assure you, it's thinking about it and then making the decision to do it are two very, very different things.
I don't think he's at a point where it's no return.
Yeah, where it's like just this burning desire.
Like, yeah, I don't think it's at the point where like the fire is out and there's no chance. I think for Greg McElroy to even mention this, some conversations have been had.
It's not completely in his rear view, but I also don't think he has that burning desire to just, I gotta get
back. Yeah. But like I said, he wakes up on Saturday mornings probably like, he Fridays of, that preparation and being used to preparing and like say getting ready to compete and looking across the field at a Kirby or another one of his contemporaries and saying,
Kirk Cignetti's coaching the playoffs. That guy worked for me,
Absolutely. And you talk about it.
Think about how many of his former assistants were in the playoffs last year? At least 3.
At least 3. Yeah.
So
and so for you, like you pointed out something, I remember him being on the set at that TCU Michigan game, and at halftime, somebody mentioning like, Georgia's the new king, right? And he turns around and beats Georgia the very next year in the SEC championship game.
Hold on a second now.
Right,
okay? All right. I'm still Nick Saban, all right?
Right.
And Georgia still doesn't know how to beat me. They got me once.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? But we're still Nick Saban. We're still Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing here, Shaun, before we move on from the college football thing and end the show. Words are going to come out of my mouth that you never thought would hear come out of my mouth.
Okay.
I don't know if he believes it or not, but Brian Kelly said something that I found very, if he means it, I respect the heck out of him for it.
Okay.
Brian Kelly said something at SEC.
I think I saw this clip.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah.
So somebody's talking about, he's talking about how this all has to be, the coaches have to lead in this, which is something I've been saying forever. And so he's talking about his team. He goes, now other thing we would like the federal government involvement. I got the Christmases here. I can go through them all. If we start the transparency and start with clear communication, necessary and consistency and approach. Look, I know this might not be where you're asking, but it's got to start with the coaches. Now, I'm not someone who ever begs for the government to get involved in anything. Have a great military, take care of the roads, some infrastructure, and then stop taxing us to death, leave us the F alone, and, go do what the Constitution said you're supposed to do, which is not what it is now. I'm not begging for the government to get involved, but we're at the point now where, okay, whatever. But then he goes on to say this. It's got to start with us. I mean, we have to be the stewards of this. There has to be a moral high ground, ethics in this. It starts with us. It starts with coaches. I was at a speaking engagement a few weeks back, and every question about the NIL was trying to find a way around it, trying to find a way to bring in revenue in some other way. Sooner or later, we have to take the stand that transparency, consistency, ethics, and morality are at the core of this. And I read this and I was like, Brian Kelly did not say that. And yeah, he said that. Did he mean it? But if he meant it, Shaun, he's never said anything that I agree with more than he said in that.
So basically, he was listening in the meetings with Jack Swarbrick. Basically,
sounds like it. Maybe he's been watching our show this offseason because he's saying things that I've been saying. Like the coaches have. They're the ones with the true power in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And
which is why I was upset with Dabo,
right?
In a sense, like, dude, sure. you have influence. Don't go to the corner,
right?
If you're on the other side, that's fine, but at least be part of the discussion and the solution because you have significant pull. You're one of those dudes, and I'm kind of upset with Nick in the sense, like, dude, you could have been in the fight,
right?
Like, you could have stayed in the fight.
Right.
You didn't have to walk away.
You could have started pushing back on this a whole lot sooner because you saw this was coming.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Brian Kelly showed at the beginning where he and I have very different political views on the world, which, Shaun, you and I, that Brian Kelly and I are polar opposites politically.
Yeah.
Once he got past the political part, and I don't even mean that he was making it political. I mean, his political leanings are going to be more to him saying, hey, let's get the federal government involved.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way. That's a difference of opinion. It's not something to argue about. It's not like he's a horrible person because he thinks the government should be involved in more things. That's just one of the differences between people on the right and left that I think are the more traditional differences that we can have respectful debates about, not the craziness we see now. Once you get past that, I really think that what he said was absolutely spot on. But the problem is because not all coaches believe that, it's hard to do it. Because if Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman and Ryan Day and Dabo Sweeney all said, hey, we're going to start doing this the right way, then you fall behind because Kirby Smart won't, Lane Kiffin won't, Hugh Freeze won't. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Is that you'll always have those coaches that don't do it the right way, that will find the look arounds, that will find the easier pass, that will find the ways to cheat. And it's like, okay, well, now they're not going to, and if they don't do anything about those schools, then now I'm forced to do this. And that's the problem because there is no enforcement arm right now that has any teeth.
Yeah.
And the only time they've ever really used teeth is on programs that they don't care about. I mean, the only reason SMU got busted, if we're being honest, is because they were SMU, not Texas.
Yeah.
If Texas would have done the same exact thing in the 80s that SMU was doing, they would not have got busted the way that SMU did time and time again.
Nope.
Flat out. A&M wouldn't have. It's because they were SMU. Well, we're going to set an example and bust SMU. Nobody took that example because they're like, well, you're not going to do that to us. Who was it? Jerry Tarkanian said some one time, he's like, Kentucky cheats and they put like Long Beach State on probation or something like that, something crazy like that. But but that's the issue. And Brian Kelly's right to create that challenge. It's got to come from us. But it sounds great, but it's harder said than done because there always are going to be coaches that are looking for the shortcuts.
And I'm gonna be honest, man. I've had to learn this. You can have all the trust in people. The majority of the time, the vast majority of people need to be led. They need to have a leader. that they can look to, right? Because being left to themselves, you know, when the cat's away, the mice will play. And so even if you talk about the coaches, what about the boosters that put the pressure on the coaches to win at all costs? You know, you have a coach that wants to do it the right way, but then he has to provide for his family. He wants to keep his job.
And the AD and president are going to do whatever the president
will do it. Absolutely. 100%. So now, you know, it's so expansive.
Because that's actually something Jack Swarbrick was pretty good about. There were times Jack Swarbrick pushed back against the money people because, like, he's like, no, we're not gonna go that route.
Yeah.
There's too many cowards in positions of leadership in athletics and in college institutions as a whole.
Yeah.
There's too many in this. You could just say this about the United States of America in general. There are too many cowards, greedy cowards who care more about money than they do about principle. Like there's no statesmen anymore, Shaun. There's just politicians.
No. It's the root of all evil, right? The love of it. You know, you
yeah.
It is what got them into this position with the players, their love for it and their greed, and not seeing what was coming and sitting down at the table a long time ago and saying, okay,
this is a different industry than it was in the 1950s.
Absolutely.
In the 1950s, players shouldn't have been getting paid because nobody was getting paid. Coaches weren't getting paid that much.
Yeah.
You know, like once the TV revenue got involved, there should have come a time. Let's say, you know what? Like, you got to have some foresight, but they didn't care because the leadership of the 1980s is not the same leadership of right now. The leadership of the 1990s is not. The commissioners are all different. A lot of school presidents are different. ADs are different because they're all saying, "Well, I don't care what happens 10 years from now. Right now, I'm gonna get mine."
I don't know if you saw this. Something major happened that's going to have a domino effect in college football. The first fully guaranteed second round contract just took place.
Who was that?
I forget the young man's name. But the first player, the second round pick to get a fully guaranteed contract. And so now that door is open. And you know the agents are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's not about, well, I'll come out if I get a first round grade. No, now you know you can get a fully guaranteed contract if you can creep into that second round. And that, with that happening, and you know, the buzzards that agents are, you know, they're circling, and you know they're going to start, pushing the athletes. Well, you know, now you don't need that first round guaranteed. You can go ahead.
It was the Houston Texans with Jaden Higgins.
We just talked about one of the Iowa State receivers we talked about. Yeah. So now the precedent is set. So 2-3 years from now, you know, don't be surprised, you know, if a kid that, you know, if this is in place, does Benjamin Morrison stay at Notre Dame? If the atmosphere for fully guaranteed second round picks existed,
I think it would encourage him to leave even more. I think it gives him even more protection to leave. Yeah.
Yes. So today's
the counter is going to be you're also seeing guys getting 3-year, $5 million deals to go to college. It's like
absolutely. You know, but I think now the NFL
that's going to go away though. Like to a degree, that's going to go away though.
Yeah.
To some degree, it's going to be interesting, Shaun.
It will be interesting to watch. You know, things like that. And how the NFL, because I think the NFL and college football have done a pretty good job of working in concert to kind of, you know.
With certain things.
You're right. With certain things to help each other out.
They're very adversarial when it comes to TV.
Yes.
But the NFL is basically, they work well with college football in areas that benefit the NFL.
Yeah.
They give two nothings about the college football when it comes to things that are best for the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they play college football playoff games on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays because they don't want to have to compete with the NFL, that's ridiculous. You've got Sundays and Mondays to play your playoff late season games, and but now you're doing like NBA when we were kids. NBA Christmas was an NBA day. That's it. Now the NFL's taking over. Like, come on, man! Like, it's just about money. you
Yeah.
know, and
Mhm.
it's not good for your league because you're having guys play on Wednesdays and Thursdays and stuff like that. Like it's just not good for your league. But it's just it's the almighty dollar. So yeah, they're great partners of college football when it's things that are good for the NFL.
Mhm.